Now, to the sources of Mr. Jesus. Actually, most of the claims of Jesus come from sources outside the Christian writings that unfortunately devastating to the claims of the Christians. However, comes from the fact that all of these accounts come from the authors who lived after the alleged life of Jesus, since they did not live during the time of the Jesus guy. None of their accounts serve as an eyewitness evidence. Now let's move on, starting with Mr. Josephus Flavius. Mr. Number 1, Josephus Flavius, the Jewish historian, lived as the earliest non-Christian who mentions a Jesus, again, a Jesus. And you guys can read it in his book, Antiquities. Although many scholars think that Josephus' short accounts of Jesus in Antiquities came from the interpolation perpetrated by the later church father, most likely Eusebius. Josephus' birth in 37 Common Era, well after the alleged crucifixion of Jesus, puts him out of the range of an eyewitness account. Moreover, he wrote the Antiquities in 93 Common Era, after the first Gospels got written. Therefore, even if his accounts about Jesus came from his hand, his information could be served as heresy. Number 2, Pliny the Young, a Roman official, got born in 62 Common Era. His letter about the Christians only shows that he got his informations from Christian believers themselves. Regardless, his birth date puts him out of the range of an eyewitness account as well. Number 3, Tacitus. A lot of people use Tacitus actually. Tacitus is a Roman historian. Birth year at 64 Common Era puts him as well after the alleged life of Jesus. He gives a brief mention of a Christus in his Annals, book number 14, sector 44, which he wrote it around 109 Common Era. He gives no source of his claims, although many have disputed the his knowledge, that knowledge of Tacitus, that of mentioning Jesus. The very fact that his birth happened after the alleged Jesus and wrote the Annals during the formation of Christianity shows that his writing can only provide us with heresy accounts. You see? And some of the people that criticized this book also said that this book mentioned Jesus only one time, and actually it wasn't speaking about Jesus, it was taking Jesus as a rank in the army. I think I don't remember in the army or what, but it was taken as a rank, not speaking of Jesus himself. Mr. Number 4 or 5, I don't know, Mr. Suetonius, a Roman historian, born in 69 Common Era, mentions a Christos, a common name. Apologists assume that Christos, as he wrote, means Christ, a disputable claim. But even if Suetonius, I don't know, his name is, had meant Christ, it still says nothing about the earthly Jesus, just as all the others. Theoton's birth occurred as well after the alleged Jesus. Again, only heresy. You see? So all of your things are being proved from non-Christian sources. None of them, and actually none of them, spoke of Jesus. Nothing. I'm really sorry, but you got nothing from history. Added to that, a book named Letters to Pontius Pilate, if I spell it correctly. The guy that actually gave the order of the the murder of Jesus, and it appeared in the Bible a lot of times. And actually, there is a book written in 1928 titled "Letters of Pontius Pilate," written during his governorship of Judea to his friend Seneca in Rome. Actually, the problem is none of this book or none of those letters spoke about Jesus. None of them. And actually, Pontius Pilate never mentioned anything about Jesus in his letters. Nothing. It was weird, you know. He never spoke of Jesus. And the Seneca's letters to Pontius Pilate also mentioned nothing of Jesus. So if Pontius Pilate and Jesus was a hypocrite, so why wouldn't Pontius Pilate mention him in his letters to his friend Seneca in Rome? So in the end, Jesus is nothing but a fraud, history, and everything destroys Mr. Jesus. Actually, it's more than a thing. It's a lot of things to study, and it's very, very, very hard. It's very hard. We still got knowledge of Caesar that came before Jesus, and we still Jesus, the God, the Almighty God, never even left a work of carpentry about himself. Nothing. So I am now talking as an atheist. So actually, Mr. The Templar, you've just failed to convince the atheist of this point. So to the atheists, Mr. Jesus never existed, but in the Quran Jesus existed. But Jesus is a prophet according to the Quran. According to your book, Jesus is a prophet, and Jesus is the mediator between God and man, and Jesus is just a man, and Jesus prayed to himself, as the Trinity says. Himself, yeah, he prayed to himself, but he prayed to himself, to the Father, who is himself the Father. But it's confusing. You don't understand. Anyway, you don't have to understand, because it's a faith, it's a belief, not a believe. You have to believe. It's a belief. You follow it, you don't follow it. It's your choice. But it's just like this. You follow it just like this. You don't understand it, but you follow it just like this. Okay, just like this. Do not understand it. You cannot understand it, because God was very tough. God was mythical. God was strange. He couldn't explain it to us. And when he tried, we came up that the verse was fraud, and it was inserted in the Bible, John 5:7. Wow. This book is very funny. This is very funny. Now, if I'm a Muslim and I've seen this shit about Mr. Jesus, the Christian Jesus, not the Muslim Jesus, I would say I would follow Muhammad. And I would say in the second video why I would follow Muhammad.